to session 2 of the Migration Summit. My name is Lorraine Charles, and I'm the founder and executive director of Na'amal. The Migration Summit 2024, organized by MIT Emerging Talent, Na'amal, Karam Foundation, is a week-long global convening designed to build bridges between diverse communities of displaced learners, universities, companies, social enterprises, policymakers, employers, and governments around key challenges and opportunities for refugee and migrant communities. This year, we're exploring the theme of unlocking and engaging talent, pathways for dignified work through virtual and in-person events all over the world. In this session, very much based around this theme, you will hear findings from 2 pieces of research from 2 different organizations. The first from JobTech for Refugees Community of Practice, which is co-led by Na'amal and JobTech Alliance. The community of practice gathers organizations with a common interest to collaborate and learn, share, and improve job tech for refugee fields. The purpose is to build communities where ecosystem members share knowledge and their work and experiences and best practices to better integrate refugees into the digital economy on job tech platforms. Part of the mandate of this community of practice is research. So I'm so pleased to introduce the findings of this fantastic research with this amazing research team. So we have 3 from this research team that will present the findings of the report today. We have Dr. Shooting Shah, who is the head of research at Na'amal and researcher at Cambridge University. Andira Kara is a refugee advocate and researcher working with national and international organizations, and Yumna Mohammed, an NYU AD graduate with a degree in social research and public policy. This research presents a systemic review of 4 emerging digital employment pipelines: freelancing, remote employment, digital entrepreneurship, and content creation, and their potential and challenges to foster economic inclusion and self-reliance for refugees. It will also cover a specific case study. So I'm really happy to turn over to you, Shooting, to begin the presentation. Welcome, everyone, and enjoy.
Thank you, Lorraine. Let me share my screen. Thank you, Lorraine, for your kind introduction. And I'm delighted to be here today to share some key findings from our research, which I conducted alongside Yumna and Andira. So over the next 30 minutes or so, I will begin by introducing the research background and methods. Then Yumna and Andira will join me to present 3 of our key findings. Digital employment has emerged as a promising solution to the challenges faced by refugees in finding meaningful work. As the global refugee crisis grows, stakeholders from governments to NGOs and private companies are exploring the possibilities of digital employment. And this innovative approach uses technology and the internet to provide refugees from remote work opportunities, breaking down geographical and traditional employment barriers. And the goal is to empower refugees economically. However, we still lack a systematic understanding of how refugees can meaningfully engage in the digital economy. So our research aims to address this knowledge gap by answering 2 key questions. The first is, what are the most viable pathways for refugees to meaningfully participate in the digital economy? The second is, what are the primary barriers preventing refugees from fully engaging in digital livelihoods? And what evidence-based strategies have proven effective in overcoming these obstacles? So our research employed a 2-stage methodology to comprehensively understand digital livelihood opportunities for refugees. Stage 1 involved a scoping review, examining academic literature and policy documentations and reports to identify current initiatives, best practices, and knowledge gaps in digital employment for refugees. And stage 2 consists of semi-structured interviews with key stakeholders, including refugees, practitioners, NGO representatives, and digital labor platforms providers. And this approach captures nuanced information not apparent in existing literature. And we analyze the interview data thematically, uncovering patterns, common practices, and emerging themes. So by combining a broad scoping review with in-depth qualitative interviews, our methodology ensures a comprehensive approach in addressing our research questions. Next, we will present the key findings of our research. So we will begin by introducing two critical components that emerged from our study as fundamental for refugees to effectively engage in digital income generation opportunities. These include enabling conditions and employability factors. And next, we will present four distinct digital employment pipelines identified through our research. For each pipeline, we will explore the unique characteristics and opportunities it presents for refugees and current practices that facilitate refugee engagement, organized along the two components I just mentioned. And this section will provide a comprehensive overview of the diverse pathways available for refugees in the digital economy. And finally, we will delve into a country-specific case study focusing on Uganda. Uganda offers a unique perspective due to its large refugee population, progressive policies, and growing digital ecosystem. So this case study will examine Uganda's enabling conditions for refugees, digital laws, and specific initiatives supporting refugee digital work. So to successfully engage in digital income generation opportunities, refugees need access to two key components: enabling conditions and employability. Enabling conditions are external factors essential for digital work participation of any kind. So these include reliable electricity and internet connectivity, of course, and access to necessary devices like computers and smartphones, and secure payment methods, required documents such as identification papers or work permit, and culture enablers like community support and an inclusive work environment. Employability focuses on individual skills and attributes needed in the digital job market. This relates more to the refugees themselves, like they need to have relevant digital and technical skills and soft skills like communication and problem solving, English language proficiency, relevant work experience, and personal attributes such as adaptability and resilience. The four common digital income generation opportunities have been identified are available to refugees. These include digital freelancing, remote employment, digital entrepreneurship, and content creation through social media platforms. Each of these pipelines offers unique advantages and challenges for refugees, and all of them require a combination of enabling conditions and employability to be successful. And we will focus on the key differences in the enabling conditions and employabilities across each pipeline. And this understanding will help stakeholders create comprehensive frameworks that empower refugees to successfully participate in digital income generation opportunities. The first pipeline is digital freelancing. This offers refugees the opportunity to work independently on various projects, from web development and graphic design to content creation and data annotation. So to be successful in this pipeline, in addition to the common requirements such as electricity and connectivity, refugees need a computer or laptop, not just smartphones, and legal identification documentations, especially when they engage in digital labor platforms, and tax identification numbers. This is specifically true in Kenya, and proof of address, and employability traits include relevant digital skills, including software proficiency and digital marketing, strong work ethics, effective communication skills, portfolio development for freelancers to showcase their skills, and self-marketing abilities on freelancing platforms. So this pipeline allows refugees to choose projects aligning with their skills, manage their schedule flexibly, and
You had to exclude yourself.
sorry, and potentially earn income from anywhere with internet access. However, success requires meeting these specific enabling conditions and possessing the necessary employability traits. And practices that facilitate refugees to access digital freelancing are centered around these elements. And refugees typically enter the digital freelancing pipeline through three primary ways. The first is online labor platforms. There are global platforms like Upwork, Freelancer, as well as specialized platforms for refugees, such as Boundless Skills by Gibea and UNHCR. The second is through agencies and intermediaries, like organizations like Na'amal Agency, and Collaborate, that connect refugees with remote freelancing opportunities and provide vetted teams of refugee freelancers to clients. The third is through networks and referrals. This is more informal, leveraging personal connections and word of mouth within refugee communities. Among the three approaches, the agency model has emerged as particularly effective because it addresses multiple barriers and simultaneously providing affordable internet access and facility device access and address many other obstacles that refugees face. And this is a holistic support. And this system not only addresses immediate challenges, but also contribute to build a sustainable ecosystem for refugee participation in the digital economy. Next, I will pass to Yumna to introduce the next pipeline.
So for the next pipeline, remote employment, just to kind of give an overview of what remote employment is. So remote employment involves working as a regular employee for a company on a long-term basis, but from doing so from a remote location. So this pipeline has gained significant traction recently, with businesses embracing it in order to access global talent. So for refugees, remote employment offers stable income, long-term professional relationships, professional growth, and integration into a company's culture. However, it still has high requirements in terms of enabling conditions and employability. So for devices, it often requires a professional grade computer or a laptop, and it may also require peripherals like webcam, headset, etc. And then some of the unique key employability traits that are required in this pipeline include digital skills, so proficiency in company-specific software and tools, digital security awareness. Soft skills, so cultural intelligence for working in diverse terms, teams, remote professional relationship building. And then language skills, so business level proficiency, professional writing, and industry-specific terminology. So in terms of the practical conduct of remote employment for refugees, this involves various processes. So the first process is the recruitment process. So there's usually collaboration between hiring companies and trusted intermediary organizations. The intermediaries basically provide training in both soft and technical skills. And then there's also the formal interview process, which is conducted by the hiring company. And then for the contracting approaches, there's the employer of record EOR model. So this is an entity that manages payroll and social security requirements in the refugee's host country. And then there's also the independent contract model, where the refugee is responsible for their own tax and social security obligations. And for the types of contracts, we have two types. We have full-time employment contracts with benefits, which is less common. And then we have contractor/consultant agreements, which is more common. For payment systems, we have establishment of payment methods that accommodate refugees' unique circumstances. And then we have consideration of local minimum wage and task complexity when setting pay rates. So if you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So going into digital entrepreneurship, digital entrepreneurship offers refugees the opportunity to create and run their online businesses, ranging from e-commerce ventures to digital service providers and innovative product development. So this pipeline basically empowers refugees to be their own bosses, kind of leveraging their unique skills and potentially create employment for other refugees in their community. So the spectrum of digital entrepreneurship is very wide, but it mainly encompasses entry-level, intermediate, and advanced. So in entry level, this mainly involves selling products on social media or simple e-commerce sites. For intermediate level, this is mainly offering digital services like graphic design or content creation. And then for the advanced level, this is developing innovative digital products or running complex e-commerce operations. So this diversity allows for refugees to enter at a level that matches their ability and resources with the potential for growth over time. For entry-level digital entrepreneurship, such as selling through social media, the basic requirements include basically enabling conditions and employability, again, dividing them into both. So for enabling conditions, we need mainly access to a smartphone or a basic computer/tablet, simple digital payment methods, so for example, mobile money, which is becoming very common for refugees, ability to receive customer payments, basic identification for online account creation, and minimal legal requirements for small-scale online businesses. For employability factors, there are various skills. So there's digital skills, so basic understanding of online marketplaces, technical skills, which is the ability to take and upload photos, basic product listing and description writing, things like that. Soft skills, basic communication skills for customer interaction, simple problem-solving abilities. And then finally, for language skills, sufficient language skills to interact with customers. So these represent the minimum requirements for engaging in basic forms of digital entrepreneurship, such as selling products through Facebook or other social media platforms. This low barrier entry point allows refugees to start small, but then potentially grow their digital business over time as they gain more skills and experience. So the initiatives that facilitate digital entrepreneurship for refugees also vary significantly, reflecting the diverse spectrum of entrepreneurial activities. At the basic level, programs might focus on providing access to smartphones and basic digital literacy training, enabling refugees to start simple online businesses through social media platforms. More advanced initiatives offer comprehensive support, including advanced technical training, mentorship, access to capital, and connections to global markets. Some high-end programs even provide incubation and acceleration services for refugee-led tech startups, offering specialized resources and expertise to help scale innovative digital ventures. So this range of support mechanisms allows for tailored assistance that can meet refugees at their current skill level and guide them towards more complex digital entrepreneurship opportunities as they progress. And we'll give the floor to Andira now to introduce content creation through social media platforms. I think something's wrong with her connection, maybe.
Yeah, she's in Kenya, and yeah, something is happening there. So I will take over. The content creation through social media platforms has emerged as a viable digital employment pipelines for refugees. There are growing interest in this aspect, especially among the refugee communities. Platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok has democratized content creation, allowing individuals to build audience and monetize their content. So this pipeline offers refugees opportunities to share their stories, challenge stereotypes about forced migration, and develop digital literacy and media product skills, and enhance employability and self-reliance. The key enabling conditions for this pipeline is quite different. It doesn't require computer for basic entry, but a smartphone with video or recording equipment, or functions of smartphones, and access to platform monetization features. This often requires refugees to, like the digital labor platforms, there are requirements on identifications to have access to payment feature of the social media platform, which is different from the user. A basic identification for account creation and compliance with platform policies and local regulations. And employability factors like the digital skills, which are proficiency in using social media platforms, basic content creation and editing skills. And it also requires technical skills such as understanding of platform algorithm and trends to make sure that their stories are being heard, and make basic photography or videography skills, and soft skills like storytelling and communication abilities and creativity and originality in content creation, and language skills like the in order to make their content receive more audience, they need to be proficient in languages relevant to target audience and the ability to engage with a global audience. It is important to note that compared to other digital employment pipelines, the support for refugees generating income through content creation on social media has been somewhat limited. While there are some programs in place, they often lack the all-round support we see in other areas. That said, there are several noteworthy initiatives. The UNHCR's Digital Inclusion Program, for instance, aims to bridge the digital divide by providing refugees with access to digital tools, connectivity, and training in digital literacy and media production skills. And this equips refugees with the fundamental knowledge and the skills needed to participate in content creation activities. We also seek efforts from NGOs like International Rescue Committee. Their Refugee Voice program empowers refugees to share their stories through various multimedia platforms, including radio, podcasts, and digital storytelling workshops. And these programs not only to provide a platform for refugees to amplify their voices, but also contribute to community building and advocacy. At the grassroots level, community-based initiatives play a crucial role. The Refugee Journalism Project in the United Kingdom is a great example. It provides training, mentorship, and networking opportunities for refugee journalists and media professionals. And these initiatives primarily focus on three key areas: digital literacy and media production skills, storytelling, and advocacy training. What we are missing here is a comprehensive support that addresses all aspects of this pipeline for refugees. So the gap presents both a challenge and an opportunity. Now let's turn our attention to Uganda, which presents an interesting case study in enabling refugees to access digital livelihoods. Like Uganda has implemented what many consider to be progressive policies for refugees, and these policies create a relatively favorable environment for engaging in digital work, at least theoretically. So first and foremost, Uganda grants refugees the right to work and freedom of movement. This is crucial as it provides the legal foundation for refugees to participate in digital employment opportunities. Additionally, refugees in Uganda have access to the same social services as nationals. So this can include education and training programs that may enhance their digital skills. Uganda's approach focuses on integrating refugees into host communities rather than isolating them in camps, which can potentially provide better access to digital infrastructure and opportunities. Another positive factor is Uganda's well-developed mobile money ecosystem. This can facilitate financial transactions for digital work, which is often a stumbling block in other contexts. So it is also worth noting that in Uganda, particularly its capital, Kampala, has a growing tech sense. This could provide opportunities for skilled refugees in the digital sector. However, it is important to recognize that while these policies create a supportive framework, practical challenges still exist. Depending on location, refugees may face issues with reliable electricity and internet connectivity, especially in rural areas or refugee settlements. And access to necessary devices like computers or smartphones can be a challenge, particularly for newly arrived or economically disadvantaged refugees. Furthermore, while the right to work exists, refugees may still need support in developing the digital skills required for online work. And despite the presence of mobile money services, refugees might face challenges in opening bank accounts or accessing other financial services necessary for receiving international payments. So there are many initiatives that facilitate digital livelihood in Uganda. We will take Collaborate as an example. Collaborate is a company based in Uganda that's making significant strides in the digital employment landscape. Collaborate operates a hybrid model, combining a talent marketplace with digital business process outsourcing, that is BPO services. They focus on 3 areas: data management, digital media, and tech. What's particularly noteworthy is Collaborate's commitment to create digital livelihoods opportunities for marginalized groups, including refugees. So their approach offers valuable insights into how we can address both enabling conditions and employability factors for refugees in the digital economy. First, let's consider the enabling conditions. Collaborate recognize the importance of physical workspace, especially for marginalized groups like refugees who may lack adequate resources at home. So they've partnered with the government ICT center to provide workspace and are planning to create their own co-working space. This addresses a crucial need for refugees who may not have reliable internet or a quiet place to work. In terms of access to work, Collaborate operate a talent marketplace that connects business with skilled workers. They've developed a hybrid model that combines platforms with the BPO. This approach provides more stable, long-term opportunities for refugees, which is often a challenge in gig work. Now, let's look at how Collaborate addresses employability. They are currently training a cohort of 200 refugees as part of an IL prospect projects. This training focuses on both soft skills like communication and time management, and technical skills, including the use of tools like ChatGPT and Slack. And this comprehensive approach ensures refugees are well prepared for the demands of digital work. Collaborate also has a thorough vetting process for their talent pool, which helps to build trust with potential employers. So they are working on automating this process to make it more efficient and scalable. An interesting aspect of Collaborate's model is their focus on creating bespoke teams of medium to long-term projects. So this approach can provide more stable income for refugees compared to short-term gigs. We need to note that Collaborate is exploring ways to providing additional benefits to workers, such as medical insurance and contributions to the National Security Fund, which, while these are still in development, it shows a commitment to the long-term well-being of their workers, including refugees. So Collaborate's work with refugees is currently focused in Kampala, specifically in Nakivela and Kayaka settlements. They hope to scale this initiative to other refugee settlements in Uganda. While Collaborate's model shows promises, it's important to note that their current approach does have limitations. For instance, their recruitment process tends to favor refugees who already have some basic digital skills, which may exclude some most in need of support. So Collaborate's example demonstrates how a company can address both the enabling conditions and employability factors necessary for refugees to engage in digital livelihoods. They have a holistic approach, combining infrastructure support, skill training, and access to work community opportunities. So this provides a valuable model that can be adapted and scaled to support more refugees in Uganda and beyond. As we conclude our exploration of digital livelihoods for refugees, let's recap the key insights we've gained from our research and case study. So we've seen that digital livelihoods offer a promising pathway for refugee community economic empowerment, spanning a wide spectrum from basic online selling to advanced tech entrepreneurship. However, success in this domain requires a multifaceted approach that addresses both enabling conditions and employabilities. And many programs we have seen that has neglected some basic elements such as devices. They require refugees to acquire their own device, which make a lot of refugees are not eligible to their program. And our examination of various digital employment pipelines revealed diverse opportunities, and each with its unique challenges and requirements, from freelancing and remote employment to digital entrepreneurship and content creation. These pipelines offer refugees different entry points into the digital economy based on their skills and resources. And the Uganda case study highlighted the crucial role of progressive policies in creating an enabling environment for refugee participation in digital work. It also underscored the persistent challenges in infrastructure, skill developments, and regulatory frameworks that need to be addressed. Looking ahead, we need a need for standardized digital skills training and more comprehensive worker benefits to ensure sustainable livelihoods. There are also significant potential in scaling successful models to reach more refugee settlements and communities. So, thank you for your attention, and we encourage you to follow us on social media to stay updated on the full report release. The complete report will include many more details that we don't cover today. We will be happy to address any questions you may have in the Q&A session. And thank you again for your time and interest in our research.
Thank you, Shooting. Really interesting. I love the way it's sort of categorized. The sort of reframing it into these pipelines is really helpful. Any questions from the audience? If not, I've got a question. Okay, Mari, I guess my question is to you, and really linking to to those questions you posed at the end. And you spoke about how research should support refugee advocacy and rights, but I want to know, how can our research in fact support employment? Because I think this is the key. It's good to support rights, but really we need jobs, we need job creation. So I guess my curiosity is, what's the narrative around research supporting jobs and job creation and refugees actually being integrated into the economy?
Yes, thank you, Lauren. So, I mean, I don't really know, to what extent, I can really influence the creation of, job opportunities for refugees. But I think what I hope with the research that we do with Bahati or with George and, with other refugee-led organizations is that then we can get to be invited to this space, like Migration Summit, but also other space. And then we can get to inform about, the research of our research, right? Because I think most of the time, I had shown the publication, the chapter in the book, Forced Migration Review, which I think has, kind of reach a wider audience. But I think it's hard for researchers to find a place where we can actually promote our research findings. So I think that might be like a first step.
Yeah, that is true. I think it's very important, especially in this field, compared to more traditional research, which is, much more esoteric and abstract. We're actually trying to effect change. So I think it's really important for us to find the avenues and venues to actually create that change so that, so that we can address the real goal, which is employment for refugees. Any other questions from the audience, anyone, for either of the two research groups?
There is one about financially sustainable models.
Yes, from Catherine, yes. Catherine, do you want to, any learnings about financial sustainable models for maintaining programs up to initial funding, for example, potential for financial support from private sector employers, payment by refugees for services as they start to earn incomes? That's a really good question and something that all organizations grapple with. I don't know who wants to take that. Who wants to begin?
So we haven't dig deeper in this aspect, but this is a really interesting and important area that we need to explore more. From my observation, I just remember that one model, which is on a website, there's micro funding from anyone in the world. So the refugees can post their businesses and stories, and then they can receive macro funding, which may be $10, $20, etc., to support their business. I remember one successful story is about a woman who opened like a convenience shop in Kenya, and then she received the funding to make sure to help her expand her business through the website. I can't remember which website exactly is that, but I can find it and send it to you later, Catherine. Yeah, I think this is this micro funding source can be one of the achievable solution to this, to this issue.
Mario, anyone else? Do you have any?
Yeah, I think George would want to share something about a partnership between youth voice community and a private actor. George?
Yes, sure. Fortunate enough, my colleagues, three of us, were engaged in our web development bootcamp, courtesy of Glad Technology. And the idea of a refugee getting their skill employed is us convincing, perhaps even going to these private sectors, telling them, asking perhaps, what kind of skills are you able to employ? That is a good question for them because we don't want to teach what is not employable. So our conversation has been going around with data that informs the kind of high demand skills, also coming up with MOUs. Perhaps the refugee can be employed. The question here has been meaningful refugee participation. We're also challenging NGOs to, especially amid this localization, how do we ensure refugees are included in their programming, in their workforce, likely also engaging government to employ refugee skills, especially tech skills are something that needs to be practiced. If you have the skill and you don't practice, nobody gives an opportunity to practice. It renders that skill, that program unsustainable. So our conversation is to come up with a clear framework of how to enhance refugee meaningful employment, likely also tapping towards refugee inclusive access to, especially in the area of tech, which brings immense opportunity. So that is our conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Maybe Catherine, I'll try to answer. I'm going to take off my my co-hosting hat for the migration, so I'm going to put on my Na'amal hat and straight up my researcher hat. So what Na'amal does is, as an emerging organization, as a startup, this is always one of our challenges. And when I started it, my goal was always to find a way to be sustainable. And we're trading in jobs, so obviously that it kind of makes sense. Private sector needs jobs. We're training people to work. But one of the challenges we found, and George, to go to your thing, you mentioned, go to what you said. You mentioned, why can't get tech companies to hire, governments to hire? I think the reality is, in a lot of places where refugees live in the local economy, it's very competitive. It's hard for even the local community to get employed. And so refugees sit at a disadvantage there. But another thing is, and this isn't exclusive to refugees, when you have just finished training, you need some sort of apprenticeship, internship period, because all of us, when we left university, when we finished our training, we often weren't ready for work. We need someone to scaffold our way into employment. And for a lot of companies, especially startups, for them to hire someone that's brand new, who's just finished their training, they often don't have the internal capacity to take on someone and provide the training and mentorship, because that's a lot of resources which they're spending to build their business and to break even. So I think sometimes it's quite difficult to ask startups and many tech companies, unless they're quite established, to hire people who haven't the experience. And often in some research that Na'amal did a few years ago, speaking to employers say, yeah, we want junior talent, but they have to have 1 or 2 years experience. So how does this make it easy or possible for refugees to be employed? So this is why we need to think of a new model to support refugees as they finish their training, to get the experience, to be attractive to employers. So now this brings me to the idea, well, surely the organization that's in the training can make money from this by getting companies to provide, perhaps recruitment fees or some sort of model. I won't go too much into it, but I think as NGOs, we have to be very creative about how we fundraise apart from grants, because grants won't last forever. Yes, there'll be some amount of grants, but it would never be enough to sustain the organization. So it's definitely a matter of engaging the private sector and trying to find these private sponsorships to support our work by providing the private sector the skills, but skills that they actually need to to support their growth. Any other questions? And George, I'm not sure if you have a response to what I said.
Yes, I'm right here. Should I respond?
Yes, please. I'd love to hear what you think of.
Yes, skills can, like a skill has to be updated for like every 6 months. So the question is, what skill do I have currently, and what skill do companies expect for me to have maybe in the next 2 years? So the question here is, even us, while we are programming, we are implementing a program, we have to ensure that we consider what is trending, especially in the era of digital space. We are going artificial intelligence, and nobody should become maybe waiting to be left behind. So the idea is engaging RLOs, especially those RLOs that are trying to grow, are trying to ensure that their community needs and demand are informed by what is in the global space, looking at globalization in terms of technology transfer. Maybe in the African context, we are left behind considering the digital revolution. So it is imperative that even NGOs, private sectors understand what is highly demanded, especially as far as socioeconomic inclusion and sustainability is concerned, for ensuring effective refugee participation in the digital space. There is immense opportunity, and it has to be informed by consultation, right from the community being represented, perhaps being benefited for that program. Likely, it has to be informed by the authority, as well as the global community in the humanitarian sector. Yes, thank you so much.
But my question is, how do you actually operationalize this? Like, what are the steps to make sure that there's this transition? And I think this is where a lot of organizations are struggling, because yes, in theory, it's great. We have to ensure that all these steps are in place, but how do we actually operationalize it? And I think this is what we need to get really granular about.
Yes, it is starting small. You cannot wait to start big. So for context of our YVC, we operate a lab that is limited because of space. We have 20 laptops, and we started that way. And good enough, we're in conversation with organizations like Oasis Madare, Glad Technology. Cohere is also our partner. YVC manages the Reframe network. Perhaps while my role was communication officer, I was the one managing the Reframe network social handle. So that is already me exercising my skills. It is us starting small and being entrusted with the abilities and the responsibility that refugee can start and eventually grow and even expand. So for us, we exchange curriculum with Glad Technology, as well as we call for exchange for mentorship, especially in the area of digital space. We also have the conversation of opening up a consultancy company where, right from refugee participant in our program graduates, we ensure that we lobby for external remote work. I was told maybe if I was a web developer in the state, let's say to develop a website, I would have been paid around 150,000, not 150,000, $1,500. Here in Kenya, a web developer for a simple WordPress website, likely you'll be given $150. So looking at the disparity is that we don't have the opportunity because we are not yet exposed to the opportunity. So it is us starting and eventually engaging actors and exploring what we are missing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, George. Any other questions from the audience, or comments, or any reflections on what we've heard today? And Catherine, I hope we answered your question.
You did. Thank you so much. I really appreciate those insights.
And thanks for sharing the report that you did with MasterCard. Any questions from anyone else? The findings, Mahri, I don't know if you want to put the links to your research.
I'm going to do that now. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. And then the other research will be published in about August, hopefully. and then we'll make sure we share it with the Migration Summit community to share with everyone else. Any other questions? Okay, I have lots of questions. So Makri, maybe this is to you. Sorry to put you on the spot. I wonder, in your research, did you come across anything that was working really well, that was really actually allowing refugees to earn a decent income? And I know we talk about, the ILO definition of decent work, and sometimes this doesn't really apply so easily to the digital economy. But I wonder, from your research, did you find anything that actually was working to provide something close to the semblance of what we call decent work?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. So I would say that what I found when it seems to me that it's functioning the most, it's when collectively there is this space, right? So that George was mentioning, this digital hub, or I think Bahati was also mentioning that, where they can collectively, go into that space and then have that mentorship in that space, and also, kind of raising awareness about some of the digital risk, that they mentioned. Sorry for the noise around me. So in a way, a lot of them are also like entering the space, and it's a new environment. And so you need that kind of safeguarding, people around that can actually guide them. So I'm thinking about one program that is also led by Refugee, right, where a lot of the women are just starting to go into those platforms, and they need some kind of mentorship and guidance. And then also, I just wanted to say that when we talk about the digital economy, it's quite broad, right? So there are also a lot of things, like with the example of the YouTube channels. It's also very much linked with what they do at the local, within the local economy, right? So some of the things that they do online, it's some of the services that they are promoting, then it might also have some kind of repercussion in the local economy, right? So there is a lot of connections in between the two spaces. And I think sometimes we have this tendency to think about the digital economy as being only digital. There are lots of connections in between the two. And I think that might be also a little bit more further research or explore, right?
Thanks, Marie. George, did you want to add anything else? Or Bahati? Or no?
Yes, I was sorry. I was actually cut off, but I have picked some few. Ensuring these skills are employed. Yes, the context here is the change has to be win through narrative. For instance, storytelling gives impact to programming. Refugee, for instance, our context, for us to, for supporters to know we are doing something, for NGOs to know that refugees are doing something, we need to be amplified in terms of doing our advocacy, in terms of storytelling and demonstrating impact. For instance, RLOs are now currently being involved, especially documenting their stories. I'm not quite sure how you came to learn about Digikazi, but I anticipate that it is because of what we are posting through our social handles, through Twitter, through our website. That gives us visibility and perhaps even build trust among funders, among the government, that refugees indeed are leading the way. Because if your work is not seen, you are not documenting it, nobody gives reference to it. So the idea here is to tell stories of what we are going through and portraying the challenges, as well as demonstrating possible solutions to what you are intervening with. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Maybe shooting the same question to you. Did you, in the research that you did you come across any mechanisms whereby refugees were actually earning something, or had anything that closely resembles decent work?
Yeah, we have examined 4 pipelines, and each employs a very wide spectrum. So yeah, it is a very broad question. To make it more specifically in each pipeline, maybe taking freelancing as an example, we observed that the most effective way is through close collaboration between organizations like NGOs and either it is private company or digital labor platforms. They provide lots of support in terms of identification support, financial payment support, etc. So in the case of those that make a decent income through referral network, these refugees normally have a better economic background. They have their own computers, etc., and they receive lots of training in terms of skills, technical skills or soft skills. They had some work experiences, etc. So, and another model that I have mentioned in the presentation is agency model, like what you just said. Like the agency plays a lot of role in terms of maintain or secure jobs, especially for those refugees who do not have any work experience. So the agencies are quite important because they sort of establish a trust between the clients and the workers who they do not know whether they can provide or deliver quantitative products or services. So yeah, to make my answer short, it really depends on each employment pipeline, but we will make this very detailed in our report. And then it also agency model stands out as a very effective way to solve the problems and issues.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna well, before I hand over to Izzy, I just want to thank everyone for the really fascinating discussion. Thank you everyone that attended. The report will be out soon. As I said, we'll share with the community. And we have a couple of sessions linked to these themes coming later on. So just after this, in half an hour, we've got a session around remote work for refugees. Maybe I'll let Hannah ask a question quickly. We've got 2 minutes, but Hannah, if you're really quick, we'll try to answer. Hannah? Or was that an accident? Okay, maybe that was an accident. Hannah, just reach out in the chat. Yeah, a session after this about remote work for refugees, and then a session on Thursday around the agency model. So stay tuned, and Izzy, I'll hand over to you to close us off today. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Just a note to say that if you've missed the meeting or if you want to rewatch it later, we record sessions and we'll share them on our YouTube. So I've sent a link through to the chat, so feel free to check them out there or share them amongst your communities. And then, as Lorraine said, we also have a meeting at 12. Sue has just sent through the link. As you know, it's free to register, so click on the link and register for the session later. And thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you. Oh, before we end, we've got 1 minute. I just want to give my thoughts to everyone in Kenya. We've been following the news quite closely whilst we've been online. So our thoughts are with you. Please stay safe. We know the reason that you're on the streets, and we support everyone's freedom of speech, freedom of expression, but please stay safe. And thank you for joining.